Now we'll start exploring some forms. So if you are going to go ahead to take the PHP class, listen up because you will be using forms all the time in the PHP class. I'm sure that you're going to understand in a moment what forms are for. I'm going to go ahead and make a basic HTML skeleton and save it. Forms example, oops, home keys, forms example. What is a form? Well, let's explore some of the things that you see as part of the form first, and then we'll talk about some of the invisible parts of the forms that you can't see and that users never see when they're interacting with the web page. So the things we do see: input type equals text. Save. Let's open it up in the browser. Text fields, right, that you can type in. So stuff like that. I can even put things like placeholder. Oh, I forget if it's placeholder text. I think it might be placeholder. Oh, boy, it's been a while since I hand coded that. Placeholder equals first name. Yes. Okay, so placeholder text gives this gray text. Once you start typing, it goes away. Once you finish typing, if you delete everything, it comes back. So that's what placeholder text is in the forms. What others? So this is an input tag, which we haven't seen before. As you can see here, an input tag is an empty tag, so it has no /input ending tag. Input type equals password, placeholder. It's more and more common to have the placeholder text take, rather than having a label, which is why I'm showing it to you. So here we go, password. Now if I type in here, it shows up as dots, right? So that's password field. Also very useful. Type equals checkbox. And then here we go with that, checkbox, which you can check on and off. So checkboxes you can are not linked to each other, but if you want one of those kinds of buttons where you can only select one, that's called a radio button. Input type equals radio. And here I'm going to name it something so that I can group them together. Name equals, I don't have any idea, let's see, favorite food. Since somebody who created content for this class seems to like cheese, I'm gonna value equals cheese. Boy, I don't know. I don't think I can put placeholder for input. I'm gonna need a label for it. Let's put a BR in. BR is one of the only times I will use BR inside a form like this. Let's see. I love BR. Oops. Cheese. I'm going to fix this in a minute. You'll see why. Let's put another BR. Type equals radio. I'm trying to think. Name equals favorite food. Bacon also seemed to be a popular theme here in this class so far, so we'll go with that. And bacon. Okay, so this looks like, refresh. So cheese and bacon are now linked together because they have the same name, different values, same name, and so you can only select one or the other. However, these have no effect. This checkbox is not linked to those two things. So radio buttons, also super useful. There's one other thing called the label tag, and that is, looks like this. Generally, you'll put labels around any text you have, and that is because of accessibility. So if somebody is using a screen reader to read your page and they can't see that cheese is next to this thing with the value of cheese, there's nothing that links them together tag-wise to tell the screen reader that this label cheese goes with this form item. So what you want to do is make that explicit for accessibility purposes. So I will say label 4 equals, and then whatever I put in here, I has to match the ID of the thing that I'm trying to label. So this one doesn't have an ID on it. I'm gonna put ID. In this case, I'll probably just choose the value ID equals cheese. I feel like I just put a return character by accident. Okay, so that one I'm going to ID cheese, and then I'm going to do the same exact thing. Here I'll put cheese. So this 4 matches the ID. This is the complicated thing. This about the only complicated thing about forms is like that we have this name attribute and that we have an ID. For this class, we can't do anything with the name attribute except for white radio buttons, so don't worry about it. But in the PHP class, you are going to be practicing it every week because name is super important, it turns out, for form items when you are processing form data. We can't process form data in this class because we don't have the capabilities to do that in HTML and CSS. It's beyond our reach. But once you start learning other programming languages like PHP, you have that capability. So this one is saying it's going to label, oh, whoops, that's me talking and typing at the same time. Let's change that to bacon. And then we'll put an ID here of bacon. So now I'm fully accessible. This should pass the validator in terms of accessibility. I'm going to just check to see if there's anything I've forgotten to tell us about validation. Yeah, good so far. Okay. So this doesn't look a whole lot different. The labels are still, they don't make it look any different. They just make it nicer in terms of accessibility. Now, very important part of inputs is the submit button. So input type equals submit, and then input type equals reset. I'm going to put a BR between these two just for beautification purposes. You can, I don't really need BRs. I mean, it's convenient to use them. I could style these various inputs to be block level elements. There's lots of ways around it, but we don't know how to do that with the kinds of CSS selectors that we currently know how to use. So that is where we're at. Just fixed my error here with my dangling tag. So for now, I'm going to put in BRs and leave it at that. And then when we get into more advanced classes, we'll do some more complicated things. Or I can just say, note to you, go look up what you should do in terms of styling form tags, input tags in particular, and do consider making them inline block or something like that. Refresh. So this, let me fill out some things. Valerie, I love cheese. Whoop. And then I can say reset. Actually, I feel like that I probably made it an error. That's okay though. Oh, I know why that. Actually, I know why that didn't work. And also, the submit button will do nothing. So why did the submit button and the reset button do nothing except for look like buttons and be clickable and so forth? Because there's one important invisible tag that we don't have that you never see as a user, but is very important for you to know about, and that is the form tag. So all of these things in a package together, and I'll show you why. Input type equals text, placeholder equals friend's email. Things you should never do online. Put in your friend's email. Okay. Say there's one place at the top where I'm collecting things that I love, and one thing form at the bottom when I want to collect something else. And let's say I'm even going to put this in a P together to give it a little space and save and refresh. So I can do two different things on this page, and they each have their own submit button. Well, how does the page know when you click submit that I want to submit the friend's email in this case? And up here when I click submit, it wants to submit this information, all this information. So this is because of the invisible form tag. The answer is you must surround all of your stuff with a form. I'm going to fill in the form tags attributes in a minute. This page has two form tags because I've got two separate kinds of information I'm collecting. I'm going to beautify. And now I'm going to say that this page is going to flunk the validator. There we go. And I think I'll even show us the validation error. Oh, actually, it didn't. I wish I had flunked the validator. Ah, dang. The most important thing that I can do here is to put an action attribute. Now it's going to flunk the validator because I'm going to leave it blank for now because we don't know where we're going. Now I should get an error that says the action attribute can't be blank. Yep, okay, must be non-empty. That's what I was thinking. But some other things are going to work nicely. So look at this. I can refresh. Now if I go and hit reset button, it actually resets, right? So that's what the reset button does. I can check off some things, I can type some things, and then I can hit reset and it just resets it. Because it knows which information this reset button goes with because the form